Happy fourth day of this new year. Yeah, Thursday edition of Afternoon Story. And my son picked this story. It's My Name is Truth, The Life of Sojourner Truth. And I don't know if you all know that her name was originally Isabella Baumgarten, I believe. So thank you for choosing this. Oh, this is going to be part one, part two. I can tell you that right now. My mama was a slave woman called Mama. With sweet arms and eyes like a hawk. I had a daddy too, bomb-free. They loved all 12 of us and had to see us sold off one by one like horses for work. Their hearts most broke. Oh, that's horrible. Mama told me to look up at the stars at night shining over my brothers and sisters. We never hardly saw them again. Her heart had 12 holes in it. I know. I got bought for $100 when I was 9. At least they spoke my tongue Dutch. Next place, I was bigger now, worth $150. They did not speak words I knew. I was always getting beat. Once he fired up a bunch of green sticks in the fire hardened like stone and beat me until the blood ran. Those marks will never go away. I can feel them like ridges under my dress. Then Master Dumont bought me. He was not so bad, but the mistress was evil. They thought my back was a cart for hauling rocks, wood, timber, and grain. I worked hard as a man. Did they ever see me, Isabella, under those loads? Time came, he said. Isabella, you are a good woman. You can go free 1 year early. But he broke his promise. I determined to leave. I owned myself. Now I was not a slave. I spun 100 pounds of wool to make up for leaving, crept out of the door in the darkness. My baby Sophia clutched in my arms and ran. Would he chase me? Would he not? Until God showed me and walked and ran and walked for miles, looking over my shoulder. A way to kind of find that took me in the baby too. I was supposed to read that. Would he not? Until God showed me the way to a kind family that took me in. The baby too. Welcome, they said. Had anyone ever said that word to me before? And showed me a fine, wide room with a white bed to sleep in. I never slept in a bed before. Just let me creep under and it would be like a shelter of leaves. Finally, sleep came to my eyes. Worked for the Van Wagenes for a few years. Then the terrible news struck my heart like lightning. The evil Dumont mistress sold my son, Peter, away down south. They are not allowed to do that by law. I marched up to the Dumont house to meet that lady. I want my son back. Get me my son. She laughed. What a lot of fuss over a little colored boy. What? I would have done the same thing, fought for my son. Come on. But I demanded my son back. That's what a mother does for any child. I got lawyers to help, and finally Peter came home again. His back a mess of scars, his soul too, frightened of his mama at first, but he came to know me at last. Oh, healing came. I worked in New York City for a while. Won't spend long on that. Met some bad people, some good ones, but God was leading me east to preach. I left at dawn and God spoke in my heart, a new name that fits me like a new dress made just for me. Hey. Now I am Sojourner because I travel far and long to tell the news of God's truth at meetings and gatherings. People like to hear me talk. I think with a name like Sojourner Truth, a body has some respect at last. I found a new home in Massachusetts at a silk mill where all men and women were equal. I was happy there. Bought a little house, my very first, and preached even more. One night at a camp meeting, there was a bunch of rowdies kicking up a storm. I was afraid they'd come for me. The only colored woman in the crowd, I hid behind a trunk. Then my heart spoke. Sojourner, are you weak? Isn't God with you right now? I strode out and climbed out a wagon back, spoke and sang and preached to those rowdies till they were calm. Something about my voice is like a blanket on a fretful baby. Then at times my voice is like Gabriel's trumpet, firing people up, telling them the good news of salvation in the terrible days of slavery. People just can't believe an ex-slave woman can speak truth and power. Once at a rally, a man jumped and shouted, "You must be a man. You are tall as one, powerful as one. You want me to show you I am a woman?" I threatened to open my dress, but others made him back down in shame. Oh, we don't need the proof. I've told my story to Olive Gilbert, a kind woman at the mill in Northampton. I remember being there. I see all these words creeping across the pages as she writes. I never could make sense of writing or reading. I will go on the road again selling my narrative of Sojourner Truth and the photographs of me. Those shadows, pictures, brings in money to feed the real woman. Sometimes I sit in amazement in some fine living room, remembering I was a slave, working in sweat, beaten, sleeping on hard floors. Now I sleep in a real bed and rally others with fiery words. I think of my daddy, my brothers and sisters like 12 shining stars. I will see them and my own children again someday. Mama will put her sweet arms around me and I will be home at last. Ooh, isn't that a beautiful, sweet story of redemption? Author's note: who could have predicted that a baby born to slave parents in New York State in 1797 would turn out to be a prophetic preacher who would bring men and women to tears when she spoke? Born in a Dutch-speaking household to mama and bomb-free from tree in Dutch, Isabella was one of 10 to 12 slave children, most of them sold to different owners by the time she was born. As Isabella recounted her own story years later, mama would light a pine torch in the damp cellar of the slave's owner's house and tell Isabella about her brothers and sisters now gone. At other times, Mama pointed to the sky and said God lived there. And whenever Isabella was beaten or sad, she could pray to him for help. Sojourner Truth, the name she chose for herself later, did so all of her long life. Isabella was sold several times before being bought by Dumont family, where she stayed for 16 years. As she grew into a tall, powerful woman, she said of herself, "I have as much muscle as any man and can do as much work as any man. I have plowed and reaped and husked and chopped and mowed, and any man can do more than that." We're about to, see, I don't want to see it again, the color purple, but we know that that's a story about strong women, mostly about resilience. And I try to cover my eyes, during those hard scenes, as far as the slaps, the beats, all that. I don't want to see that, but I am inspired by the music. I am inspired by the strength and the narratives of long ago. And it's in us. It's in us, whatever we're going through. Ann Turner is the author of many novels, and she lives in Williamsburg, Massachusetts with her family. She has a lot of honors. And James Ransom's work has appeared in nearly 50 books for children. He teaches illustration at Syracuse, and he lives with his family in Rhinebeck, New York. Well, while I'm still waiting for my sister, I can go on, and when she comes, I'll cut off. Her owner, Mr. Dumont, Isabella's, worked as hard as a draft horse. There she is. She works hard too. Okay, you make sure that you stand for truth. I'm going to flash this so you can pause it and you can read for yourself. And remember, resilience, strength, and might is in you. Have a great evening, knowing that your ancestors went through much, but you are called to do much more. Make a difference.